QRB's music show, but today we're going to be doing some crime time. Welcome to my channel, PB's Music Crime Time. We are going to be doing a case on the Sandy Hook Elementary School pupil. His name's Adam Lanza. Majority of those that were, which I will show you a picture of him, sorry. There. Adam Lanza. Majority of those that were unalived were beautiful little kids between ages of 5 and 10 years of age. The police realised immediately once they got there, they knew pretty much what was going on. Oh, hold on. Sorry. It might be the wrong one there. No, it is the right one. Okay. So they knew pretty much what was going on. They didn't have specific details yet. One suspect down the building has not been cleared. It was very tragic observation on all parts, because then you could see the carnage that was present. As 2012 was coming to an end, the United States of America was ready to put the year behind them, and after suffering from one of the 12 deadliest pupilling ever recorded in the country at that point, the Aura movie theatre massacre, which shook the nation, don't think anyone was prepared for what was about to happen. So I'm just going to show you some videos. Hope everyone's having a good day or good night wherever they are. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for coming. Right. So this was Adam Lanza's friend. So we'll just listen to what he's got to say.
I'm Hari Srinivasan from the PBS NewsHour. I'm on Google Hangout with Kyle Kronberg. Actually, Kyle, I'm sitting in your house, in your basement. You're off at Endicott College. You're a junior this year. But we're interested in talking to you because you knew the person who committed this horrendous crime in Connecticut. What can you tell us about him, and how did you know him?
Well, I knew him through a Latin class in high school. I took it 3 years. He was in it with me all 3 years. I knew him because he was in one of my groups for when we went over homework and did other things like that. He was a very bright kid, very intelligent. You could tell he really cared about school. He was very shy, though, very shy. Didn't want to look at you in your eyes. And if he did, he made you feel uncomfortable. And it was always a very awkward conversation. After a couple months of knowing him, it was still awkward to talk to him, and I never talked to him and felt comfortable. It was always just a little off.
So, what kind of friends did he have, or who did he speak to at school?
Honestly, I don't know. After Latin class, we would just part ways, and I would only see him maybe periodically through the day, just walking past, and I would say hi. He would say hi back. But I never saw him really walking with people. I couldn't give out specific names or any types of friends.
But when you heard the news yesterday, when this all happened, what went through your head?
I could not believe it. I heard the name Adam Lanza, and I thought, I know that name. Why do I know that name? I thought about it for a while, and it came to me. I was like, wow, he was in my Latin class. I used to talk to him, and it blew my mind, because I think about him back in the day of high school, and I would have never thought he'd be capable of doing anything like this.
What is it about this that I'm sure you've talked to your friends that you went to school with who also knew him? What are you guys remembering? What are you saying? What did you all know about him?
We're all just so shocked. I mean, a couple of my friends didn't really know him, but the ones that do remember, we just talk about how he's literally one of the last people we would expect. He was very shy, very soft-spoken. You would talk to him, and if you had told me in a couple of years he was going to do something like this, I would have said, no way. That's I can't believe that. But I mean, a lot of things happen in a couple of years, so.
Did he ever talk about his interest in guns or his access to weapons? That he went to a target range with his mom, anything like that?
No, nothing of that sort.
And when you think about this, you must have friends, or at least extended friends who are affected directly by this. Is that right?
Oh, yes, of course.
And so when you're talking to those people and you're hearing this information about these sort of very personal tragedies, what goes to your mind?
Anger, disappointment. I mean, it's all over the spectrum. It's just terrible to think about, like, something like this would happen. I mean, especially in Newtown. Newtown is just such a tight-knit community. Something like this that happens, it trickles down and it affects everyone. It's truly just a disaster. Even if I didn't know anyone personally affected or directly affected by this, it affects everyone. It's my community. I know almost all my friends went to Sandy Hook School, and it's just crazy to think that someone would go into a kindergarten class and just do those things. It makes you sick. It makes you want to throw up inside. It's awful.
Knowing what you know now, is there any way that you would have acted differently or behaved differently or reached out to Adam when you knew him in high school?
If I had known that he had these kind of thoughts in his head, I don't know. I would have done a lot. I guess I would have done everything in my power to try and make him feel more belonging to the school. It was tough because he didn't like relationships. He didn't like. It just seemed as though he didn't like to have friends. One of the things that I remember about him is after Latin class we would separate ways and go wherever. But if I would see him in the hallway, he was always walking alone. And if he was ever walking up to a group of people, more than 3, maybe 4 or 5 people, he would get as close to the wall as possible. He would try and be as far away from them, almost as if he was afraid. And I saw him do it a couple of times, and I didn't think anything of it besides that, it was kind of strange that he was doing it, but I thought maybe it was just those specific people. But now that I look back on it, I guess it's easier to see that he was a little bit more uncomfortable than I thought he was. And if I had known how uncomfortable he was and maybe had gotten to talk to him on a personal level, who knows what could have happened.
All right, Kyle Cromberg, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. So, residents of Newtown, Connecticut were preparing for a Christmas holiday in Winchester. The New Year incident was about to occur at the Sandy Hook Elementary School, which until this day remains the deadliest mass shooting event to take place at an elementary school in America. 20 children aged 6 and 7 years old were gunned down in their classroom by a complete stranger who had many years before had attended the school himself. 20-year-old Adam Lanza would go to take the lives of not only those innocent souls, but the souls of innocent teachers and his mother, before proceeding to take his own life. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have listened to the devastating case of the Sandy Hook Elementary School mass shooting. For many of you, we will be familiar with this case and the unknown questions surrounding the motive, but information that has been uncovered over this past year or so by people over on Reddit may point to theorize what led to this awful event on the 22nd of April 1992. Adam Peter Lanza was born to Peter and Nancy in the town of Exeter, New Hampshire, and to say their family was ours is an understatement. Adam had been born into a family home built by his parents, located within farm and that was owned by his grandson. Peter and Nancy were housing up family pride. Now, after having the first son, Adam overhauled Martin Lanza, okay, so that was that one.
As the nation struggles to come to terms with the tragedy that struck Sandy Hook Elementary School, new details are emerging about the 20-year-old shooter. Late tonight, ABC News confirmed that his parents had been separated since 2001 and that he had not spoken to his father or his older brother in the last 2 years. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross has the latest.
In the last months of Adam Lanza's life, family friends describe a young man so troubled he would not leave the house, with his mother Nancy telling them she was losing control of her 20-year-old son.
It was just getting a little harder for as time went on.
Nancy Lancer was a regular at a Newtown bar and restaurant, My Place, where the owners, the Tambasios, say she told them about her struggles with Adam's emotional and behavioral problems for years.
She'd been helping him the whole time he's living at home. She always helped him. She homeschooled him and everything. So she, like I say, I knew he was on medication, but that's all I know.
But since her divorce from Adam's father, Peter, 3 years ago, her friends say Nancy was left to deal with Adam by herself.
We knew we had a problem, but she took care of it the best she could. She was a single mom, and she did what she had to do.
Since elementary school at Sandy Hook through high school, Adam was known by classmates as strange, severely shy.
He hated looking into your eyes for more than a couple seconds. He'd always look down at his paper or whatever he was doing. It made him feel uncomfortable, and he made you feel uncomfortable as well.
A former babysitter says he was told by the mother to never leave Adam alone.
Nancy had always asked me to always keep an eye on him, never even go to the bathroom or turn your back on him at any time.
The former school security director, who became close to Adam when he was in the high school tech club, said Adam was seeing the school psychologist and had several disorders, including the inability to feel pain.
So if he had cut himself or hurt himself, he would not know it or feel it. So we were being very, very careful with him.
But last Friday morning, the shy, reclusive Adam turned into a different person. And now the mystery of why is at the center of the police investigation.
We will answer every single question determining any kind of medical condition, any kind of issue whatsoever that you may have been involved in. I am not at liberty to discuss medical content. I'm not at liberty to discuss any of the information so far uncovered.
One big question is why his mother, knowing of his emotional issues, introduced Adam to the world of high-powered guns, including the semi-automatic assault-style Bushmaster rifle that he used in his deadly rampage that she bought legally in March 2010. Agents say mother and son even went to the firing range together in the last 6 months.
You have a child that's obviously troubled, doesn't bond with people, doesn't even bond with her, apparently. And then you introduce something that's so lethal and so violent, inappropriately used. It's just an extremely poor decision on her part.
Especially with the Bushmaster, one of the most popular guns in the country, demonstrated in a video posted on the company YouTube channel. It can fire 45 rounds in a minute, and it's modified so it is legal, even under the Connecticut law meant to ban assault-style weapons.
Bushmaster is able to take advantage of that loophole. In fact, if you go to their website, they have a page called State Compliant, where they make weapons specifically for these types of states. But it's still just as deadly, because what makes it dangerous, of course, is the ability to take almost unlimited amounts of ammunition and a pistol grip. That's what allows a shooter to keep the barrel down on its target.
On Friday, Adam Lanza showed up at the Sandy Hook school with the Bushmaster and the 2 handguns and hundreds of bullets, enough to kill everyone, every student and teacher. Only the sound of approaching police stopped him.
I think that gun empowered him. And once he had decided at some point he was going to commit this mass shooting, he now has been trained with a piece of equipment that will accomplish that.
Police and federal agents are now working on another key piece of evidence, a computer hard drive found in the Lanza home. When they found it, someone had tried to destroy it with a hammer or a screwdriver. But agents say while that will slow them down, it will not stop them from recovering what was on the hard drive. Perhaps the secrets that Adam Lanza wanted no one to see.
So, yeah. She was granted 5 months leave until Adam was born. Within those 5 months, the fans were planning to restructure Nancy's department, meaning cutting costs and cutting jobs. Nancy was told that she wasn't going to lose a job, but she had nothing to worry about. But one day after the birth of Adam, the dreadful letter came through the door, and that was it. She had 2 children to take care of and no job. Luckily, through Peter, by this point had finished university and was the vice president at an asset management firm, so money wasn't an issue for the first 3 years of Adam's life. He didn't speak. Reports say he even babbled and made noises that sounded like words but not words that anyone would understand within the family. It became accepted that he was, quote, making up his own language. Over Adam's younger years, Nancy had been in touch with various child-related services in relation to this issue, and just prior to preschool, it was determined that Adam demonstrated a good attention span, coupled with creative playing skills. However, they didn't understand anything he was saying. By the time late 95 swung around, Adam was resorted into full muteness. After medical professionals described him as realizing that people weren't fully understanding what he was saying, eventually his speech would start to develop though, but more underlying issues were on the horizon. He was observed engaging in several repetitive behaviors, was sensitive to smells or small things that weren't there. He would also sit and hit his head repeatedly, traits of OCD started to emerge. This led to an eventual diagnosis of sensory interrogation disorder. In other words, his brain had trouble receiving and responding to information that comes in through the senses, hence why he smoked smells that didn't necessarily exist. After this diagnosis, he continued to be monitored through his early days in kindergarten, although there's no in-depth reports about those years, so we will fast forward to 1998, and Peter Lanza gets a job offer with General Electric as a tax leader. He's quick to want to snap the job up, but it's 200 miles away in Stamford, Connecticut, meaning the Lancers would have to leave their current lives behind and their dream home and start afresh, meeting new people and acquiring new friends for the boys to meet new schools. Nancy was in two minds about it. She felt like her marriage was at breaking point. Peter had been working non-stop, and she took the role as a stay-at-home mum. Adam consumed her life, however. After researching the school system in Connecticut and feeling it would be more suited to Adam's needs, she decided it was for the best. In the summer of 1980, the Lancers were ready to settle down in a village they now call home, Sandy Hook. Sorry. Well, I'll just play the next video.
OGX knows that it's not just hair, so don't just wash it. OGX it.
We got some intriguing new information and a strange new picture of Lanza today. His college records were delivered to us after we requested them under the Connecticut Open Records Law. Lanza enrolled in courses at Western Connecticut State University. When asked his gender, he wrote, "I choose not to answer." When asked to describe himself, he wrote again, "I choose not to answer." This is the photo taken for Lanza's student ID. A gaunt young man with a strange stare. He had a 3.2 grade point average, doing best in his math and computer courses. After killing those 26 people at the school, Lanza killed himself.
As the nation struggles to come.
Carrying on. Adam and Ryan would both attend Sandy Hook Elementary. After the relocation, Adam would go on to be monitored until after the 4th grade, where he was eventually described as being up to an academic level for his age, and his speech had improved massively with the help of speech therapy. Within the school, by this point though, he was still described as being shy and withdrawn. But there were moments where he would socialize with other children. He would get involved. Peter and Nancy also had broken up around this time, but wouldn't divorce until a later date. And the breakup was initially hard on the boys, but eventually they learnt to deal with it. After the schedule ended up being the same, Peter had worked that much he would normally see the boys on the weekend anyway, and that continued to two drastic events would take place in Adam's life in the following year, depending on who you ask. One of those was a major red flag. In 5th grade, Adam made a best friend, and a pair would go on to author a book, The Big Book of Granny. Now, some of you might be thinking to yourselves, maybe this was a book about innocent Granny. Well, if you didn't guess it by now, it was the complete opposite. The truth was much darker. The Big Book of Granny, in a nutshell, consisted of narration about unaliving children and cannibalism, and taxidermy of humans, amongst other topics not usually spoken of by a child in the 5th grade. By the way, trigger warning, guys. However, it should be noted that various sources, to say the book was created by some sort of school project, and it mustn't have been that much of a concern because everyone knew about the book. As Peter was quoted years later as saying Adam was trying to sell copies to other children, Adam was optimistic about attending a middle school, but in reality this is where major issues really started to begin. Reports say that Adam gave up several activities and hobbies that he either took up in his first year of middle school or that he didn't previously. He became more reserved and wouldn't leave the house. He even declared that he didn't want to celebrate holidays anymore, including his birthday. What was supposed to be a huge leap forward in life for Adam proved quite the opposite, and this was a result of the change in circumstances regarding school. His anxiety levels went through the roof due to social aspects of the classroom that would in turn distract him from his course, causing him to fall behind with his homework. He was also reluctant to ask questions as he felt it would slow the class down, and he sensed resentment when that happened. Nancy believed Adam was bullied, so did Peter, although he would later come out to say he was never actually informed of any bullying incidents that took place. Rather, his speculation was because of the person he became, he thought he could have been an easy target for bullies. Either way, middle school was held for Adam. He was eventually moved to a Catholic school. It had smaller classes, it was more tailored to his way of learning, and to start it was great. However, within 1 year he was removed from the school, but it isn't clear whether this was Nancy or the school's decision. What should be noted, though, is that Adam continued to write similar stories to that of the Big Book Granny. Adam would write 10 pages obsessing about battles, destruction, and war. Adam's level of violence was disturbing. Adam's creative writing was so graphic it couldn't be shared. Peter said he was left in the dark. A decision was made to enroll Adam back to his previous middle school, and he would attend, but only a few days into it. It was reported that he wasn't sleeping well and wasn't eating. He would be taken to hospital, but was eventually diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome by Dr. Paul Fox. He visited Dr. Fox away from that Pacific hospital appointment briefly after, on the basis he was diagnosed with Asperger's. Dr. Fox declared that no school environment would be suitable for his condition. He was a severe case, as he put it, and so homeschooling was given the green light by Dr. Fox for the rest of his time at middle school. Adam would now be homeschooled, although he did leave the house to attend Newton High Tech Club meetings and of course visits to Dr. Fox. From the outside looking in, everything seemed fine and dandy, but the truth of the matter is that Adam in certain aspects was getting worse. You see, although he did go out from time to time, the majority of his day consisted of staying indoors, where he immersed himself in the gaming world of Warcraft, and blinds were up to block the sunlight. This would eventually turn into black bags which would completely block out the sunlight altogether, and his OCD had developed. Further requests of clothes washing every hour were made. Socks were the worst, and at times as many of 20 pairs of socks were worn per day. He also washed his hands that much that skin began to peel from them. But remember, only certain aspects of his life were getting worse. Surprisingly, when moving into high school, he was ready to try make the step to attend rather than being homeschooled. At the end of his final middle school year, a dance ceremony was held as a sort of rite of passage, a goodbye to the teachers that guided students through the years of learning. But Adam wasn't allowed to attend, so Nancy and Peter purchased the home version of Dance Revolution for his PlayStation 2, complete with a plastic mat that he could spread out on his bedroom floor. It looked similar to the arcade setup. He was free to dance wherever he wanted. Either way, this step towards high school was growing ever closer, and Dr. Fox was pessimistic about the idea. Many others, however, were supportive. In order for this to work through, a plan was laid out in simple forms. It consisted of Adam avoiding as many people as he could, attending high school either earlier or later. So I'll just show you another video. Hey, Sterling Leather, how are you? Good to see you. I can't see chat at the moment, but I can see it on my phone, so yeah. So these are some disturbing writings from Adam Lanza's journals, I think.
I recommend La Roche-Posay, Ethiclad, Duo.
Having a bit of problems.
All right, let's get straight to the numbers.
Things are easier to share when they're not very good.
Right, here we go.
Adam had been carrying Ryan's ID, and Peter knew it wasn't Ryan. But when he saw what had happened, he knew it must be Adam. And Shelley, his second wife, described to me getting this telephone call in which he said, "Shelley, it's Peter, it's Adam."
And she said, what? And he said, it's Peter. I think it's Adam. I think it's Adam. I think it's Adam. And Shelley said first she didn't understand what he was talking about, and then she suddenly did, and she dropped the phone and screamed, and then she went out and got in her car and drove back home.
Okay. So, he would then return home and delve deeper into the online world. The earliest reported findings of Adam's online history date back to late 2006. Here we see Adam's interest in mass unalivings grow, and although he wouldn't directly engage with the various foreign boards until late 2009, he definitely was a regular visitor to the sites. In late 2009, he would sign up to the Shocked Beyond Belief forum board, better known as the Super Columbine Massacre, under the alias Smiggles, a forum dedicated to the Columbine unalivers and the phenomenon of mass pupilers. One of his first posts announced that he'd been using the board since late 2006, but hadn't made an account until recent. Throughout 2009, his interest peaked in relation to similar topics under the alias at Kane Breed. He signed up to various pew-related forums where he spoke of pew types having a fetish for a specific type of pew. His preferred weapons loaded out to 4 combat arms, almost other things. He also made an account on Wikipedia under the same alias, where he would edit and write up articles about mass pew-pewings. Events confirmed edits throughout 2009 were the Dawson College pew-pewing, the Collar Township pew-pewing, the Lobbies Massacre, the West Road Mall mass pew-pewing, along with the post about mass unalivers, Kip Kinkel and Larry Jen Hashbrook. In 2010, similar edits were made in relation to the Celio Moore pew-pewing and the mass unaliver Richard Farley, but no other information that they have. Moving forward, his online activity focused heavily on pew-pews related topics, but it's thought he'd still be researching and gain information surrounding various mass unalivers. Adam's obsession with mass unalivers was clear to see, of course. None from the outside knew what was going on. But had they seen the 7 by 4 footed sized spreadsheet listing around 500 mass unalivers, they would have knew what his mindset was straight away. The list consists of the unalivers stats, including the number of casualties, categories of weapons used. He was careful to list every single weapon, and of course the pew-pewings were ranked by the unalivings they had acquired. So I'll show you another video. Okay, go back.
Just advising, we do have a child on the line.
This was the moment
Footage of the scene of the horrific shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School has been released by police in Connecticut. The footage is part of documents from the investigation into the massacre in which 20 children and 6 adults lost their lives. It gives the first view of the interior of the school since the mass shooting on the 14th of December last year. It includes images of shattered glass at the front doors of the school, as well as shots of abandoned classrooms and empty desks where the terrified children had cowered. Eerie images of the library are revealed, with computer equipment laying on the floor, once a scene of tranquility and learning, now a place of terror and tragedy. The car of the shooter, former pupil Adam Lanza, can be seen in the parking lot, along with a rifle found near to the vehicle. Another car is also shown, strewn with bullet holes. Police also released images from Lanza's home, showing his bedroom with ammunition on the shelves. The release of the footage comes a month after the State Division of Criminal Justice released a report saying that gunman Lanza acted alone and that his motive may never be known.
Just realizing we do have a child on the line.
This was the moment everything at the scene in Uvalde should have changed. At 12:10 p.m. on May 24th, fourth grader Chloe Torres, who survived the shooting, was inside room 112 at Robb Elementary and spoke to 911. Police just a few feet away in the hallway were just minutes later made aware the worst-case scenario was unfolding.
Right. So I'll just keep going. In 2011, Adam would call into Anarchy Radio, an anti-civilization show where he would appear to sympathize with Travis the chimp and compares the chimp to that of a mass pupua. Travis the chimp was a chimpanzee that had been domesticated and raised like a human child. In February of 2009, he attacked and mauled his owner's friend, blinding her, severing several body parts and lacerating her face before being pewed and unalived by responding police officers. The link between the caller and Greg and Adam Lanza was made after Smiggles had posted about Travis the chimp. On Shocked Beyond Belief, Smiggles, aka Adam Lanza, would go on to make this comment after the call. While I feel schizophrenic, my call starts at 38 minutes. It didn't go as horribly as I anticipated. I wish I hadn't spoken non-stop about Travis for so long, but I didn't want to seem crazy by randomly bringing up a chimpanzee for unknown reasons, and despite my failed attempt at having a normal voice, I at least sounded less coherent than usual. I normally speak much softer and swifter, with less articulation, less inflection, and more mumbling away. From his online activity and rewinding the clock back a few years to 2008, it was reported that Adam had stopped seeing all medical professionals in relation to his disorders, and moving forward, that would stay permanent. He would soon be integrated back into a normal class after it was assessed he was college. Although the end of school went fairly well for Adam, he dropped out of his first year of college, but it isn't exactly clear as why that was. From emails later recovered by the FBI, Nancy Lanza had spoken to Peter regards to an incident that happened. She couldn't figure out what was specifically, rather Adam's reaction to it resulted in muteness, him covering his face, and he went straight to his room, where he stayed for hours without eating. He had dropped out only 1 month after securing his diploma, and as you know, throughout that Pacific summer, he continuously posted about mass unalivers. Take from that what you will. Details hazy as to what happened for the following year. So I'll just show you another video. Sorry about that, I've got a phone call. I'll just send this message and then I'll get back into it. Sorry. People that try and text me while I'm on the live. So I'll just send that. Okay, right. Back to where we were. Okay. So what have we done? We've done there. Up here. So I think we're up to this.
And we are getting a more complete picture this morning of the gunman as police try to learn more about why 20-year-old Adam Lanza went on his bloody rampage. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross is here with the latest. And Brian, you're hearing that the weapons Adam used were likely registered to his mother, who's described as a gun enthusiast.
That's absolutely correct, according to people on the scene in Newtown. The authorities say they are moving quickly with more developments likely to come today in their efforts to determine both the how and the why of this stunning crime. Police say they have already found important clues in the Lanza's four-bedroom, $600,000 home, where the killer's mother, 52-year-old Nancy Lanza, was the first victim.
And hopefully painting the complete picture as to how and, more importantly, why this occurred.
Authorities now say Nancy Lanza owned the same style of guns that her son used to kill her and the 26 victims at the elementary school. The medical examiner said most were killed with multiple shots from the high-powered semi-automatic rifle.
This probably is the worst I have seen.
The connection between Adam Lanza and the Sandy Hook Elementary School goes back to the time he went to school there and his mother worked as a teacher's aide, according to Adam's aunt, Marsha Lanza.
I know she had issues with school. She eventually wound up homeschooling him because she battled with the school district in what capacity, I'm not 100% certain. If it was behavior, if it was learning disabilities.
As a fuller picture of Adam Lanza began to emerge, including his membership in the high school tech club, former classmates told ABC News he was a smart but socially awkward student.
He always carried a briefcase, and that's what sticks out most in my mind.
Adam's parents, Peter and Nancy Lanza, went through an uncontested divorce 3 years ago. And Adam's aunt said that Nancy had purchased so many weapons because she was concerned for her safety living alone.
And I think the only reason why Nancy may have had him, and for the sake of many more of us in this country, is for self-defense and no other reason.
And friends of Nancy Lanza has told us that she enjoyed taking her sons to the firing range for target practice, Bianca.
She could have indirectly been there when he was learning how to shoot those guns.
Sorry. Carry on. In September of 2010, Adam wanted to join the Army Rangers. However, Peter thought this goal was unrealistic. In the end, Peter's thoughts about the situation proved true. Adam never joined up, but rather took on some new courses at New York Community College. Peter and Adam would end up having a heated back and forth about how many courses Adam could take on. He wanted to take on 5, but Peter thought again this was unrealistic. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, would mark the end to the pair's relationship. Moving forward, they would never speak again. Peter attempted to reach out various times after this point, but Adam never responded. By the end of the year, Ryan had moved out of the house due to work in New York City, meaning now it was just Nancy and Adam within the family unit. The pair would bond over their love of pew-pews, and for Adam to travel with Nancy to the pew-pewing range throughout 2010 and 2011 showed his passion for it. Given his medical history, that these trips would soon end, as it was reported that for months Adam and Nancy, although living in the same property, only communicated via email. Away from Nancy, though, Adam had actually started to socialize with an acquaintance from New York Community College. He had managed to pass his driving test a couple of years prior, and every weekend would attend a local movie theatre where he would play Dance Revolution with his acquaintance. He went there so frequent he was known as the Dance Revolution guy. He would dance on for hours, sometimes at 10 hours at a time, his clothes drenched in sweat. On the 13th of December 2012, the GPS unit in Adam Lanza's vehicle logged that from 9:09 until 9:32 a.m. he turned right off at Riverside and drove past Dickinson Drive, the entry to Sandy Hook Elementary School. He continued for approximately half a mile before pulling off onto Chimney Swift Drive, before turning around and following the same route back home to Uganda Street. On this day, there was no indication that he had entered the school grounds. At roughly 10 p.m., Nancy would return home from her Thanksgiving trip in New Hampshire. She went back to her family's farm where she once lived. They caught up. It was a laugh. But it was time to return to reality, to return to Adam, and that's exactly what she did. Upon arriving through the front door, she took a shower, planned an appointment with her friend for a dress fitting, read a book, went to sleep. The next morning, sometime before 9 a.m., a neighbour would A neighbour who lived on the same street as Adam and Nancy heard what sounded like 3 or 4 pew-pews, one after another. The pews did sound unusually close, but he figured it was just a hunter out in the woods who had lost their way. Sadly, the reality was much more darker, and the events that unfolded on the 14th of December 2012 were not only shook the local community of Newtown, but the entire United States and beyond. In the days leading up to the 14th of December 2012, Adam Lanza had reportedly visited the Sandy Hook Elementary School website various times in retrospect. We can see that he was more than likely searching up the final steps of his plan. On the 14th, he was ready to execute them. Sometime before 9:30 a.m., Adam Lanza pewed his mother, Nancy, 4 times in the head while she slept. Sorry, trigger warning, guys. Trigger warning. While she slept, the mother who spent her life trying to do the best by Adam in the matter of seconds had life taken by him. The 4 pews, Peter said, represented a bullet for each member in the family. Nancy, Peter, Ryan and Adam. He was sure that had both he and Ryan been home at the time of the initial pew-pewing, they too would have been unalived. Following the pew-pewing at the house, Adam made his way over to Sandy Hook Elementary in his Honda Civic. He was armed to the teeth. In his possession was a 12-gauge pew-pew, semi-automatic pew-pew, and 2 semi-automatic hand pew-pews. He had also taken 24 magazines in total. They were full 2 for the pew-pew, 10 for the semi-pew-pew, and 6 magazines for both pew-pews. The route Adam had taken to the school is exactly the same as he had done the day before. Moments before 9:35 a.m. he arrived, but decided, thank you very much, Still in Leather, for putting that down, but had decided, for whatever reason, to leave the pew-pew along with the 2 magazines in the car. Dressed in military-style gear, although it wasn't actually body armour, he placed his earplugs in and was ready to unleash a wave of violence that had been all too familiar in modern-day America. To start, he pulled back the charging handle on the pew-pew, and he pew-pewed a single round into the pavement to make sure the magazine was inserted properly. He swiftly moved onto the entrance, but the door was locked, and so the pew-pews were pewed in the glass panel so he could enter. Some of those initial pews were heard as the school intercom had been rolling for morning announcements. Principal Dawn Hoshbrong and the school psychologist Mary Sherlock were meeting with other facility members in the staff room when they heard, but didn't immediately recognise the pew-pew shots. The pair, along with their lead teacher, Natalie Hammond, stepped into the hall to determine the source of the sound. When out of nowhere, they encountered Adam Lanza, when they all shouted, "Pew-pewer, stay put," which thankfully would save multiple staff members' lives and in turn would save people's lives. So I'll just show you another video.
This report from Deborah Fayrick, we should warn you, what you're about to hear could be disturbing.
The first call came in from the school secretary moments after classes started. It gives an insight into how quickly the shooter, Adam Lanza, was able to get into the secured building.
Newtown 911, what's the location of the emergency?
Sandy Hook School. I think there's somebody shooting in here. Sandy Hook School.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Because somebody's got a gun. I saw a glimpse of somebody. They're running down the hallway.
Okay.
They're still running. They're still shooting. Sandy Hook School, please.
7 911 calls were released. They captured the fear and quiet urgency and lack of panic of those inside and at the police dispatch. One woman shot in the foot crawled into a classroom where several children hid near a bookcase.
Okay. Are you safe right now?
I think so. My classroom door is not locked.
Okay. Is there anybody that can lock the classroom door without being safe?
No.
Safe to do so. Okay. All right. Just try to stay where you are. Okay. Is there any way?
Yes. There's children in this room too.
Okay. Try to apply pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We have people coming. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Okay. Is there any other teacher with you in there, or is just students?
No, there's two other adults in the room with me.
Okay. All right. Are they right next to you, or where are they in the room?
No, they're over on the other side of the bookshelf.
Okay. All right. Are you okay right now?
For now, hopefully.
According to a report by the state's attorney, that teacher and the students in the classroom survived. It was custodian Rick Thorne in a different part of the school who became the eyes and ears for a police dispatcher.
I'm down the corridor. All right, I want you to take cover. Jen, get the sergeant. All right, get everybody you can going down there. All right, let me get some information from you. What makes you think that?
The front glass was all shot out there. It kept going on.
Okay.
Chris, I'm on the line with a 911 call with you.
It's still happening.
Shooting at the Sandy Hook Elementary School. All right.
All right, what about the students in the front of the building?
Everything's locked up as far as I know. I'm not in the front.
All right, you're in lockdown?
Yeah, they're in lockdown. I keep hearing shooting. I keep hearing popping.
The guy shooting at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown. That's what 911's ringing off the hook for.
At one point, the custodian, still on the phone with the dispatcher, is confronted by responding police officers. After he urgently identifies himself, he relays information between those officers and the 911 dispatcher.
I'm on the dispatch. Victims in the building.
How many?
How many? 2 down.
On scene, Newtown police officers quickly understand the scope of the tragedy.
Call the state police, okay?
State police have been notified.
They've been notified.
And what becomes clear from listening to the tapes and exactly how they played out is that there was a certain calmness. There was a lot of urgency. Yes, there was a fear, a little bit of panic, but for the most part, everybody did what they needed to do to try to get where they needed so they could save as many people in that building. That is very clear from listening to these tapes. Jake?
Deb, these are just a portion of the 911 calls that were released today because of the Freedom of Information Act that they have in Connecticut. There are other calls as well that we do not have, right?
We don't have those. The ones that were made to the Connecticut State Police, those have not been released. Those are in the custody of that police department. It's not clear whether, in fact, those calls will ever be released. But right now, these were the ones that were the focus of the Freedom of Information Act, and those were the ones that were released, a total of 7 for about 25 minutes. And you can hear as everybody's trying to get on the same page to make sure that the people in that school got the help they needed, Jake.
And we are getting a more complete picture.
So, the school janitor, Rick Thorne, would yell, "Put the pew-pew down." Instead, Adam opened pew-pewed, unaliving both Dawn and Mary. Natalie had been pewed in the leg and sustained further pew-pewing wounds. She instantly dropped to the ground, pretending to play unalived. And when everything went silent, she crawled to the conference room and pressed her body against the door to keep it closed. From where Adam made his way towards the room where the facility meeting was being held, more staff were inside, but they were hiding, according to those members of the staff who hid. He did enter, but couldn't see anyone, so he made his way out, and it was now open season on the classrooms. The closest classroom was that over classroom 12, but there had been dark-coloured paper covering the door's glass panel from the inside. It had been left by accident after a recent lockdown drill. Uncertain over who or what was on the other side of the door may have been the reason he decided to skip off this. We will say that he went to classroom 8 first. Classroom 8 was a classroom of first graders taught by Lauren Razu and Rachel Devone. Rachel had been a substitute teacher only 1 week at that point, as she was working with special needs children. Everyone in that classroom would fall victim, leaving only one child as a survivor. According to ballistics report, the whole class had attempted to take refuge in the bathroom, but because it wasn't big enough to keep all 15 students and along with the 2 teachers, the door had stayed slightly open. Sadly, Adam had noticed, walked up to the door and pew-pewed continuously. Witnesses to this particular part of the pew-pewing heard a young boy shout, "Help me, I don't want to be here," to which Adam responded, "Well, you're here. A 6-year-old girl would survive at this part of the pupilling. She was to be found by police in the classroom. Following the events that had unfolded, she had hid right in the corner of the bathroom, only surviving after playing unaliving. Adam would then make his way to room 10. Victoria Lee Sotu had been teaching her first grade class along with Anne-Marie Murphy, the special education teacher working with special needs students within Victoria's class. Upon hearing the commotion, Victoria and Anne hid some of the students in the bathroom, whilst others were told to hide under the desks, but she forgot to lock the door. They were panicked in moment's notice. She remembered she hadn't locked it, so she made her way to the door. But as she did, Adam walked in from where he walked to the back of the classroom, saw the children under the desk and pewed them. First grader Jess Lewis shouted at his surviving classmates to run for safety, and several of them did. He went on to save multiple lives. At just the age of 6 years old, a true hero had been staring Adam in the face while shouting. But in the end, he was sadly fatally pewed. After 6 minutes of terror and going into classrooms, he had already pewed up in a confusion. Adam had unalived 26 7-year-olds along with, 26 teachers along with 6 7-year-olds along with 6 teachers. As the police started to approach the school, he would pull out one of his hand pew-pews and unalived himself. Wow. Interesting.
When Adam Lanza shot his way into Sandy Hook Elementary School, he was carrying 3 weapons and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Acting alone, in just 11 minutes, he used an assault rifle to murder 20 children and 6 members of staff before killing himself. He was 20 years old and a former pupil at the school. As a community grieved and America reeled, the question was why. But now, after a year-long investigation, Connecticut officials say they may never be able to answer. As they combed through Lanza's home, investigators did find signs of a disturbed man, evidence of target practice, violent computer games and literature, an empty gun cupboard, the rifle he used to kill his mother before he went to the school. Computer searches revealed an obsession with mass murder, particularly the Columbine school shooting. He had made a spreadsheet listing prerequisites for mass murder. There was a video dramatization of children being shot, and a game called School Shooting. Despite all of this and significant mental health issues, investigators said he wasn't aggressive or threatening before this attack. There was simply no reasonable explanation or excuse, they said, for what he did. In the aftermath, President Obama tried and failed to tighten gun laws. His supporters may hope this new report reignites that debate. But Sandy Hook is gone now, and many of the families are still grieving, and they still want answers. Hannah Thomas-Peter, Sky News, Newtown, Connecticut.
Yeah, they will be looking for answers for a long time. On the 25th of November 2013, the final report from the state attorney summarising the investigation concluded that Adam Lanza had acted alone and that the case was closed. The report noted that Adam was familiar with pew-pews and ammunition and he had an obsession with mass unalivers, but didn't identify a specific motive for the pew-pewings. They did say, however, the pewings and eventually suicide wasn't a spur-of-the-moment action. Rather, it had been planned months, if not years, in advance. His hard drive had been destroyed. The FBI would never gain access to what was on it, but it archives internet history painted a picture of a young man who hated the society that surrounded him, and eventually he engaged in various conversations about his obsessions. There are many theories out there in regards to a motive. One that people believe in the conversations about his obsession many theories out there in regards to a motive. One, that people believe in the pedophilia, closest to the truth is that Adam Lanza was a pedophile. In an undated and lengthy essay, he outlined his position that pedophilia should not be considered illegal. This was further backed up by a YouTube channel that was found in 2021 by a user on Reddit. In the videos, which some label Adam Lanza's basement tapes, opinions that he previously held via text form were spoken of. Although this theory is one that's widely accepted, at least by internet detectives, officially we still don't know why Adam did what he did that day. What also should be noted is that although the FBI are aware of at least the essay that he wrote, they don't believe Adam, being a pedophile, led him to unalive all those innocent people. So I'll just show you another couple of videos and then, yeah, we'll finish.
Early on, we see him acting neurotypical. He's sending these, Mother's Day cards. He has photos of his baseball, that kind of thing. And then in time, we see this gradual deterioration and isolation to the point where he is completely isolated and communicating even with his family via email.
Of what's happening in our kids' worlds. So you want to know what they're doing on the internet. We should have a password to their computer. We should be able to assess what's going on so that when we have concerns, we can answer some of those questions.
And last but not least.
Hey, I'm Ethan.
My name's Kirsty.
Hi, I'm Inez Almeida. I'm a writer and a contractor.
I think I'm going to play this.
Well, there are so many victims now to talk about. 26 innocent lives lost. And Dan, I know you have more on that.
Bianna, yes, we now know their names, in fact, this morning. They are so young, all in the first grade, all of them shot more than once by a semi-automatic rifle. The medical examiner saying, mercifully, death was swift. He added this is the worst case he had ever seen. ABC's Amy Robach is back with more on this, and this is the hardest part.
And Dan, it's so true. Every day we learn more about the victims, and this story just gets harder and harder. This morning we know the names. We see the little faces of those sweet little boys and girls, and the teachers who love them, and the parents who so desperately miss them. 12 little girls and 8 little boys, all only in first grade, and the teachers who tried to save them. On Saturday, photos and details of lives cut short started to emerge.
The worst that I know of any of my colleagues having seen.
Noah Ponzer had just turned 6. His twin sister survived the shooting, but Noah did not. 7-year-old Grace McDonald, family members telling ABC News, "Our daughter Grace was the love and light of our family. Words cannot adequately express our sense of loss." Anna Marquez Green, the daughter of a jazz musician, her father says they're struggling to work through this nightmare. Catherine Hubbard's family said in a statement Saturday, "We ask that you continue to pray for us and the other families who have experienced loss in this tragedy." Jesse Lewis was looking forward to making gingerbread houses in school that day. He was in Victoria Soto's class. She, just 27 years old. Her family says she was shielding some of her first graders when she died. Lauren Rousseau had just started as a full-time teacher in September. She was having the best year of her life, her mother said.